We are back once again live with another Johnny Torch Live broadcast, number 92 edition. And this is, for all intents and purposes, the season finale of This Week in Comic Book Television. Uh, Again, I never say never. I never have, never will. Did I just say never? But the chances of this format coming back again next season is probably not very likely because there are way too many shows. I think I was up to like 8 shows a week at one point, having to review them all, each episode. Now, this was okay back in the early days of the superhero television boom when you just had Arrow, Flash, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then, of course, you factor in Gotham, you factor in Black Lightning now, Legends of Tomorrow, of course, is still a big hit. Legion. There's so many things. I don't know if I can do so many and stretch myself so thin next season. So I might go back to the original format, which of just doing an overview of the entire season and, you know, taking it up from there. But before we contemplate the way the next season of This Week in Comic Television will roll out, and it will roll out in one way or another, we've got 2 episodes to review today. We've got the season finale of Supergirl, and we have the 4th episode of Cloak and Dagger. Again, I don't think I'm going to do a weekly review of Cloak and Dagger. I am probably going to just do a season overview when the show wraps, which is what, August, I think. Not sure exactly when. Also on the table, have to point out that we are not going to do the rankings in this video because I have an appointment with Geek Squad. I got to get my computer looked at here. I'm still trying to get a tablet installed so I can do the episode 5 of The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon coloring, and it's not installing for me. So I've got to do that this afternoon. And I wanted to get this show done and in the books before I do that. And I got plenty of time because I've got like an hour and a half. So, but with only 2 episodes, I'm sure to get this video in. But if I was to review the seasons of all the shows we watched, Krypton, the CW shows, the Marvel shows, Inhumans, all that stuff, I'd never make it. So we're going to do that video probably on Monday, tentatively scheduled for Monday. We'll rank all the shows I watched this season. And of course, Cloak and Dagger is not going to figure into that because we're not through with that. And I would like to see Luke Cage. I'm really looking forward to that one. I didn't see Punisher. I didn't see Jessica Jones season 2. So I'm kind of behind on those. But I really am interested in Luke Cage. I'd like to see season 2 of that. But I am just so burned out, honestly. Burned out on these shows and reviewing them. And I'm probably going to save Luke Cage for probably September or something, just before the the network shows start ramping up again. We've got The Gifted. I keep thinking of more shows that are going to be on. I don't know if I can take the grind of doing them all in review in a weekly review style. So again, we'll see what we can do. Like I said, if there was enough interest, I probably would keep going, but we're going to have to try to alter our plans here somewhat. All right, we'll start off with Supergirl and wrap up her season. Again, I don't want to talk too much about the overall season. I just want to focus on this episode. But this season had its ups and downs, kind of tough to get a handle on. All right, so we'll pick up where we left off. I have to admit, I still think that Mon-El's costume looked ridiculous when you realize it's basically just the Superman costume from like last season, and they just took off the emblem and spray painted it the reverse colors. I mean, they couldn't get. I guess Chris Wood is the same size as Tyler Hoechlin because he's probably wearing the exact same costume. Otherwise, they would have had to mold a new one. That's a good picture of them all, by the way. I like this picture. Anyway, so Supergirl and Allura go to work, and Allura catches on pretty quick. Now, this is another thing. This is kind of bugs me, like, When we talk about Ray and she knows how to do everything with the Force and this and that, but Allura comes to Earth and her whole, growth is rushed. She automatically knows how to use heat vision. She automatically knows how to use freezing breath. She automatically knows how to fly. She automatically. Now, I don't like, and I'll admit this right off the bat, I don't like Man of Steel, the way they portrayed it, where you have to be on Earth for a number of years, mastering how to control your powers, and they all just come at you like a flood. I don't like that. I like the idea of you're sort of brought to Earth neutral if you're a Kryptonian. And what happens is you have to learn how to access these powers. Ooh, let me see a little more of that picture. There we go. You have to learn how to access these powers the way you flex any muscle. You need to flex the muscle of heat vision and know how to turn it on and off. I don't think it's something that you could like accidentally leave on, but I'm saying you need to learn how to flex these muscles. I don't think it's something that accidentally just happens. You have to learn how to tap into it and realize that's what is going to activate it. Melissa Benoist looks so great in this picture. I'm just so distracted. Anyhow, so Amy Jackson too. So I get, yeah, well, you want to get into this. We got to get into this again. That's been my grief with this whole season of Supergirl is they honestly, CW has never not pandered to a shipper cult. They have tried to pander to Mon-El and Kara all season long. Unfortunately, though, they set up that Mon-El was married. And they set up that they kind of backed down on it a little bit. They try to make it like it wasn't that happy of a marriage, but they made it that all of a sudden now Mon-El is suddenly going to forsake his hot wife, his super hot wife, and get together with Kara again. And as I said, this doesn't make either of them look good. Particularly, Kara hasn't really responded to him in that manner, really, but Mon-El particularly doesn't come away from this looking good. And that's why I don't understand a lot of people. Well, a lot of them are shippers, I guess, but a lot of people want to see Mon-El back next season. Now, I like Mon-El. I like Chris Wood. I think he did a real great job with this character, both seasons. But the way they've written themselves into a corner where they want to keep appealing to the shippers by acting like love is still alive and there's still a chance. And for all intents and purposes, Mon-El and Saturn Girl break up in this episode. And, they're trying to open the door towards, well, will they, won't they? And we all know they're not going to, because to be totally honest, like I said, they're not going to jeopardize the feminist ideals of Supergirl don't need no man. So they're really just stringing along the shippers. And of course, Chris Wood, I believe, is not coming back next season. If he is, it'll be just in guest starring appearance, maybe, or two. But he is not coming back. And I think that's for the best. Because they need to back away from this, because again, Supergirl is supposed to be representative of the ideals of Superman. And having the ideals of Superman, it would be like Superman's married to Lois, but then he still carries a torch for Lana and goes and kind of tries to rekindle things with Lana. You're going to hate Superman. You're going to dislike Lana. You're going to be feeling sorry for Lois. It's these kind of things that don't work out as a triangle. And I think they've really jeopardized some of the nobility of Supergirl in this, because they don't want to have her just come right out and say this can't happen, because they're afraid the shippers are going to really react badly to that. It's kind of like, it reminds me of when Jeremy Jordan has had like a thankless role this whole season. He hasn't done anything, and I believe that's directly linked to Jeremy. I don't know, you want to say it, not in a negative connotation, but that he mocked the Lena Kara shippers, and that they take the shippers so damn seriously on CW that I think they reduced his role to the point now where Jeremy Jordan's like, look, I don't really need this. I can do other things. I can sing. I could do Broadway and play Lumiere or something and Beauty and the Beast off Broadway or something. I don't really need to be sitting at a console and having like maybe 2 episodes a season thrown my way. Because the past 2 seasons, they did constructive stuff with him. And we'll talk about him some more. Again, every single time I spiral these things off on a tangent, but let's get to the storyline. And because Wynn is a very important character. Now, the Guardian sees, because he's helping out too in this evacuation, he sees that Superman is busy in Madagascar. They had to sort of give a, perfunctory explanation of why Superman isn't helping, the same thing. It's like, would you run down all that stuff with, like, Batman is busy in Gotham because Mr. Freeze has just taken over. And meanwhile, in Central City, there's this terrible 4-alarm fire. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's like, we really don't need that. But the thing is, with Superman, I thought he should have been involved in this season at the end because you're tying so much of this to Krypton. Now, if this was just, something out of the blue, whatever, some other planet invading or whatever, then yeah, I understand. I didn't really crave his, his addition last season. But when you have these 3 Kryptonian witches or whatever, and this cult of Rao, and Allura coming back, and Rain is like born of Krypton and what have you, this is the kind of storyline that begs for Superman to show up because there is so much going on. He probably wants to meet his aunt. He, wants to deal with Kryptonian, criminals and this and that. It just seemed like they neglected him, but still at least acknowledged him. So I don't know, kind of disappointing with that in that respect. All right, so John's dad finishes the mind meld with him before disappearing. And it's a sad goodbye. It's a really nice moment between them two. And he, I suppose, seals Rain in the earth. I don't know how this happens or how this works, but in whatever case he does it, I don't know. Jimmy reveals himself to someone. Again, they're pushing this thing with Jimmy wants to let the world know he's a superhero. I don't know why they're doing this again. That's not really the safest thing for him or his friends, but they are pushing, I think, this narrative that he has to inspire, I don't know, the Black community. I don't know. He's feeling left out or something. I don't know. All right. Saturn Girl comes back with Brainiac 5. Now, as we know, Brainiac 5 is going to be a member of the crew next season, which is, I think, good. Because, to be honest, he was the one that had a romance with Kara. This could be interesting if that's the way they lead it to. I hope they do. This version of Brainiac 5 is a little bit kind of out there, and I don't know that they do that. But that would be more comic accurate. So I would like that to happen. Maybe that she has like a minor romance with him, and so that when Mon-El does come back at some point, they kind of realize that they both ended up with the right person. One of those type of things is probably what should happen. Probably won't happen, though. So anyhow, where we left Sam was she was in the Shadow Zone. She meets her mother, adoptive mother, and she guides her to the right pool to drink from or something. I don't know. She just makes peace with her adoptive mother because they were at odds for most of their lives. And also because I suppose Rain killed her adoptive mother, and while she was still in her body, and they kind of wanted to soften that blow by saying there was sort of like a reconciliation between the two. All right. 3 witches are still there and plotting, and Covell is still alive. This I didn't understand because I don't remember what happened to Covell after this. All I know is he sends some kind of signal to, I don't know, the ship or something, and they find out where they are. I don't remember exactly what happened, but meanwhile, the 3 witches summon Rain back from the Netherworld for like 35th time. There was kind of a couple too many false endings, I think, this season when it came to Rain. Maybe it's just me. Supergirl, Saturn Girl, excuse me, apparently breaks up with Mon-El. They, again, kind of left it somewhat ambiguous, but I don't get it. I still don't get what they're trying to do with them, but she didn't tell Mon-El something about the reason why they were coming to Earth or something. I don't know. And they act like they try to play this up like it's the greatest betrayal. I mean, if a husband felt betrayed every time his wife didn't tell him the full story, I'm pretty sure there would be a 99% divorce rate in marriages. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they tried to backpedal on this marriage from the beginning. They realized too late that they kind of wanted to have the forbidden romance aspect played up, but then they backed off having it like have a conclusion. They had to keep the door still open, which was a mistake. All right, Brainiac 5 then recruits Wynn and Mon-El against the future Brainiac, which apparently he's causing trouble in the whatever century they come from. I forget now. I used to read Legion, but I don't remember. Legion of Comics. Legion of Superheroes. Legion of Comics. Yeah, that's with, I can't think of any comics, but uh, I put myself on the spot by trying to make a gag, and I don't know. Legion of Comics, Don Rickles, Phyllis Diller. I don't know. Anyway, I kind of got myself out of it, I guess. All right, so again, we take the time out for Alex's subplot. Again, they don't really give her too much of a subplot, but again, she's got adoption woes, wants to adopt. She doesn't know if she can adopt as a single mother that is a DEO agent. And of course, they evoke the name of Maggie Sawyer again. Oh my goodness, we're never going to forget about Maggie and the love that spans a lifetime. That's what I mean about the shipper cults. It's like there's still some out there that are clinging desperately to hope that we're going to have Maggie Sawyer return so we can have this romance rekindled. I mean, it took up so much of the show last season. It's really a blessing not to have to deal with it this season. But again, they're still evoking it and bringing it up. And oh man, it just drives me nuts. All right. So, I mean, because there comes a point where your characters have to move on, just like people in real life. You have to move on. They haven't really let Alex do that. I mean, they've made progress, so to speak, because, we can't seriously go back to this every single time. But to be honest, if I was to keep count how many times they brought up Maggie after she left the show, I think probably, I don't know how many episodes it's been since she left. Let's say it was 16. Probably was a little more than that, but if it was 16 episodes, they mentioned her probably in like about 12, I don't know, maybe 11. All right, so Wynn confides in Jimmy, tells him he's afraid to go to the future. Jimmy tells Wynn that he's going to reveal his identity. Supergirl doesn't want to kill Rain. This was an important part. I liked this because I feel all superheroes should have this stance, but Supergirl particularly, being the cousin of Superman, she should have this stance. Allura and Martian Manhunter convince her otherwise, and this was kind of okay with me. I kind of didn't mind the idea because of what happens ultimately at the end, but we'll get to that in a second. Sam's mom ends up helping her regain her powers, and she rushes to aid Supergirl and the others in the attack because they marshal their forces here. It's a pretty good fight. Sam tries to kill Rain but fails. Supergirl knocks Rain into the lake of fire, but she heat blasts Sam, Allura, and Mon-El fatally. Power blames herself for trying to kill Rain and acting out of character, which honestly she did. So again, we love our tributes to the Donner Superman. She uses Mon-El's ring to go back in time, which I talking about the tribute to Donner Superman, I still hate Superman, Supergirl not being able to breathe in space. I kind of feel like that's unnecessary. I always thought that was like the best thing because that was kind of something that came back from the Golden Age. Superman just like always flew up in space, and it was never like, oh, he can't breathe. How can he do that? But I guess the science behind it is if he can't breathe, how is he alive? I guess just he has to have heart failure is the only way he can. I don't know. So she uses the ring to go back in time, and she uses the purple rock to send Sam, Rain, and her to the Shadow World, where Sam knocks Rain around before forcing her to drink from the pool, sending some wraith creatures after her, sort of like the Black Flash in the Flash, and they spirit her away to whatever netherworld the Kryptonian spirits come from, or whatever. Now, Mon-El wants to go back to the Legion and gives Kara a ring, which, is a nice symbol, I guess, of Supergirl interacting with the Legion. Kara wants to stay in National, thankfully. Sam is back to human completely. Lena doesn't have a whole lot to do in this episode, but the idea is that sort of like she's still a good guy. We're not going to have her turn too quickly, I suppose. If she is to turn at all, we don't really know. Wynn's going to leave to the future, and this is I like this. Wynn was the boyfriend that should have been. That's what I always said from the beginning. I always said Wynn should have been the one to end up with Kara, because he was sort of the nerdy guy that was always there for her, and as she says, he's the first one that knew her secret. He was the first one, he created the costume for her. He was the first one she told, and I don't know. They first tried to match her up with Jimmy Olsen, and nobody liked it. Literally nobody liked it. And thankfully they, were astute enough to understand that. But then, Mon-El came along, and, because there's actually a relationship with them in real life, I suppose, which also, kind of, fed to the idea of keeping him as the love interest. But Wynn always got pushed aside. He never really got a chance. And after a couple of episodes in the first season, he sort of is resigned to the idea that he's friend zoned for life. Were it me, I'd have fought a little bit harder, but I guess apparently the idea is you don't push that boulder too much up the hill, or it's going to roll down and flatten you. All right, meanwhile, Alex resigns, or she's going to resign, but Jean gives her a promotion to his job. And that kind of makes this an interesting idea for next season. What is going to happen with Jean? Because, of course, the implication is that Alex is going to adopt children, and she's going to be. I know that storyline never manifested, where everybody thought Sam was going to die and she was going to adopt Ruby, but she's going to adopt kids, and she's going to be not in the field. Which I just think this is a chance for her to bark some orders, but she's not going to. She's not going to be completely out of the field, I don't think. I think they're going to keep her in the field, especially they're giving her the new costume and all the gadgets and gizmos. Of course, Martian Manhunter wasn't completely out of the, action either as the head of the DEO. This raises an interesting question. Where's Martian Manhunter going to be next season? Now, he's still a regular on the show, I think, David Harewood. But I think they're trying to play up. They had him with the slouch hat on and the coat and stuff, kind of like mixing in with humanity. I think they're trying to play up some of the golden age Martian Manhunter, where he was sort of a detective and sort of blended in amongst humanity and observed them. That's kind of what he's trying to do, I think. And of course, Alora leaves, goes back to Argo City. It's nice that she'll be able to come and go. I thought maybe she was actually going to get killed off. I don't know. Like I said, I think they rushed her. They could have, instead of so many boring episodes earlier in the season, had they brought her to Earth midway through and had her interact, learning about her powers, learning about customs. It could have been a fun fish out of water thing. They just crammed it all into the last 2 episodes. And again, I don't know why they write these shows by the seat of their pants. So they need to think these things through and really try to maximize the effectiveness of these stories. I don't know why they don't. Jimmy goes public. I don't know. I still don't get that. We never get a full answer again, like I said, to whatever happened to Carvel or Saturn Girl. Imagine she went back too, although they don't say that they're together anymore, Saturn Girl and Mon-El. Lena got the purple rock, and she's still experimenting on it with Miss Tessmacher. And here is the cool cliffhanger. They end the show with Kara walking, apparently wearing nothing but a blanket, to Russia. And of course, this kind of suggests they're going to do the Supergirl version of Red Sun. Now, if you've never read Red Sun, neither have I. But the idea is that Superman lands in Russia instead of the United States back in, whatever it is, the 1960s or something, and grows up as a child of the motherland and becomes a communist force against capitalism. I don't. But this should be interesting. This would be an interesting take, I think. The only thing I don't understand is really, what is this supposed to be? A clone? Parallel dimension? Because we already had the parallel dimension with the Nazi Supergirl and the Nazi Arrow and the Nazi this, that, and the other thing. So if they're going to do this, I really don't know what take they're trying to take. All right, so what am I going to give this? Again, kind of sloppy. I don't know. I'm going to honestly say 4 stars out of 5, but I really did like it as a season finale. They did some cool things. Like I said, I think Alora was crammed into it. I didn't like the resolution between Mon-El and Saturn Girl. Jimmy coming out, I don't know. I don't get it. Again, mentioning she who should not be mentioned ever again. There's a couple of things that dropped at a point in my estimation, and of course, Jeremy Jordan leaving the show. I'm giving it 4 stars out of 5, but it turned out to be a pretty good season. Like I said, I think the beginning of it was pretty dull. They tried to cram too much in at the end, at the 11th hour, but some missteps aside, I'm going to give 4 stars out of 5 for the season finale of Supergirl. Okay, kids, so you know what that means. Get all the sharp objects out of the house in case you are tempted to do bodily harm, as Tandy almost does in this episode. But we have Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger, episode 4 we're on now. So, like I said last time, my DVR cut out before the final, 30 seconds of the episodes. I didn't know that they met each other. Last frame of the show last week, I suppose, was of them meeting in Tandy's church, or, well, it's not her church, but her hiding place here. And they contemplate what's going on. They have a heart-to-heart. Ty tells her about his vision of her. And they cut back and forth to them going home. I don't know if this necessarily means that this all happened in one meeting, or if this kept going on back and forth while this other meeting, while these other events were going on, and they kept meeting back. I wasn't sure. I think the former, but I don't know. So meanwhile, in these flashbacks, or whatever you want to call them, Tandy asks her mom about Roxxon, and Tandy chides her about her boyfriend, which is a theme that goes through this whole episode, where she doesn't trust the boyfriend because, I guess a lot of, her mother had a lot of love him and leave him boyfriends. Meanwhile, Tyrone makes kissy with his girlfriend, although he kind of doesn't even want to call her his girlfriend, which I don't understand why. It seems like she's like really into him, but he kind of is like keeping her at arm's length. I don't know, until they did the kissy face. And then meanwhile, Tandy tells Ty about her vision of him. She does the vision quest thing on her mom's boyfriend, Greg, and she sees the truth about his intentions, that they are noble intentions. Although he's still married, this is another one of those things where, I don't know, that makes things a little bit more dicey. All right, so she apparently spies on him and then questions him about Roxxon. She wants to help him in the case against Roxxon. Then she has a conversation here with Tyrone, where she tells him how to get justice, that he needs to sort of like think out a plan in order to trap the crooked cop. So Tyrone comes up with this plan, I guess, to tell the cops that his bike was stolen. And I don't know, apparently he just freaks out when he's in there and leaves. It's like too much for him, I guess. I don't know, but the plan doesn't work. He ends up getting in trouble with his dad for stealing his cutters, his like chain cutters, because he wants to make it look like a robbery. So he broke his tire chain. His dad takes him to the Voodoo Club. Yes, that voodoo hoodoo is still around. After a very strange intro, they welcome him back. I don't know. This guy was going to cut his throat with a with a razor blade from like the 1920s barber shops. I don't know. And I don't know. He's singing some Jimmy Crack Corn or something. I forget what it was. Some weird song. I don't know. I'm not from Louisiana, so I don't know how they do that in the Voodoo Club. So again, there was a nice moment here where they kind of really want each other's powers because, but I guess they really, I don't know, they kind of have the appropriate powers, I guess, because Tandy really needs hope, and so all she does is see hope in other people. And Tyrone, wants the darkness because he doesn't have it in him to get revenge, but he can see the darkness in other people. I don't know, it's really weird. So Tandy decides that they should try to touch again and see what the reaction is, and they get blasted back. Now, I get the idea that this is something that is going to keep them chaste, I guess is the word for it. But there's not going to be no physical love affair between them two because they can't literally touch each other with their powers. And I like that idea. I like it because I think in the comics they weren't really romantic. They kind of had a relationship where they were deeply invested in each other, but it wasn't a romance, and it wasn't really like a sibling thing, but they just sort of had some kind of deep affinity for one another, and it's hard to explain, but I think they're kind of capturing that here. They're trying to, at least. Again, so it's not that bad, I guess. So Tyrone's daddy was going to be a voodoo spy boy, which I don't know what that means. It sounds vaguely racist. But the funny thing is, when he actually finds the comic style cloak in the, I don't know, they have like a wardrobe or something in a room, and it's like all beaded clothes that they apparently in the Voodoo Club are supposed to make their own beaded clothes or something every year. I don't know. His dad doesn't want him to have it because it belonged to his dead brother. And Tyrone wants to finish it though, and apparently this is going to be his costume. I am just hoping against hope that Tandy gets a costume too, because it's easy for Tyrone to get a costume. All he needs is that hood and cape, and hoods are in style as it is. I mean, we've got Arrow. Most of his compatriots there wore hoods. Roy and Thea, whatever. I mean, the hoods are, you can get away with a hood on television. The cape is kind of more theatrical, but I think they could do it. A Tandy, like I said, in the cotton one-piece jumpsuit, I really want to see them do it, but I mean, even if they kind of, PG it up where she doesn't have the slit going straight down past her belly button, which even as a kid, I really didn't know how that was very practical. How does she keep that suit closed? I don't know. With luck, I guess. But this is the white suit. The white, she needs white. She needs to be in a white jumpsuit. And that's cool. I never understood the significance of the ring around the eye either, but I don't know if that was a tattoo or something, but that I could do without, but I don't know, maybe they could do that too. So anyhow, Tandy's mom breaks up with Greg because the guy's wife called. That seems like the stupidest reason. And he wasn't even going to answer the phone, just one of those things. But her mother's an alcoholic, so her choices are probably skewed. She ends up trying to make up with Greg, but it's too late because he ends up assassinated. Yes. So long, Greg. We hardly knew ye. And Tandy witnesses it, of all things. Again, this show is like, don't be the least bit depressed when you watch this, because I'm telling you, the sharp objects will come out. and you don't want to inflict bodily harm upon yourself. This is like heavy stuff. There's not been one moment of whimsy, not one moment of whimsy during this whole past 4 hours that the show has been on. The one moment of whimsy I'll give you was when Tyrone woke up on the roof and he came down wearing nothing but a blanket and he was trying to get a taxi. That was funny. That was pretty funny. Apart from that, there has been nothing to like at least let me crack a smile in this show. It reminds me of the old MST3K episode, Deep Hurting. Deep Hurting. And you just got to be in a state of mind that it's just a dirge, really. But like I said, I expected the show to be angsty and serious or whatever, but trust me, this is like some serious stuff. This is some tense bleep going on here. All right, so Tandy is suicidal, and Tyrone calls around and says, "What's wrong with you?" And Ty says the whole country is out for him, basically racism and this and that. And then he kind of like implores her to do it, just do it and get it over with or something. And she accuses him of having a death wish and, that he really wants to get, death by cop. And he just storms out. And her reaction is to get high, really high. And then I guess his reaction is to work out. And then she attempts to commit suicide by, I don't know, chaining herself up and jumping into the harbor or something. And she ends up using the dagger to free herself because she creates daggers. It's the default power she has. But unfortunately, they don't really explain. Well, the show is over basically, but they don't explain what changed her mind, why she saved herself, or exactly what she was trying to accomplish. She finds info in the burned out office of the assassinated Greg. And meanwhile, Tyrone goes back to the police station to look for O'Reilly. So there you have it, folks. Another week, another episode of Cloak and Dagger. This is kind of what I expected, but this is like intense, even by my standards. I didn't think it was going to be this tense. It's like I said, like basically you thought the Netflix shows were dark. This is some serious stuff. Where's the whimsy? I thought that Marvel was supposed to be the ones that were too many jokes, and there's always a joke and a punchline after every dramatic scene. This and that. You get none of that here. This is what I think most people want from their Marvel properties or whatever. I don't understand it because to me, it's just like you need the balance. You need to have some moments of lightness at least, if not humor. All right, let's just get to it. I'm giving this episode of Cloak and Dagger kept my attention. Wasn't that bad. They finally met. I got to give it to them for that. I'm going to say 3.5 stars out of 5. I'm tempted to give it 4 stars, but I'm still really not there. 4 stars means I'm at least fully engaged and enjoying it. This means 3.5 kind of means I'm on autopilot. I'm watching it. I'm not looking at my watch. I'm not checking online, but I'm still kind of spacing out every once in a while thinking, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. So I am going to give it 3.5 stars out of 5. And like I said, I like the actors. I think they kind of are moving in the right direction. They're taking their sweet time, but they're kind of moving in the right direction. So we'll see where they take it from here. All right, that about wraps it up for another episode of This Week in Comic Book Television. If you followed the show at all this season, thank you very much. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about Supergirl, the season finale, or the season in general if you want. We're going to talk about the season in general in our next episode. Let me know what you think about Cloak and Dagger. Do you think it's a little too earnest, like I said? Do you think that they're hitting the right notes? Do you think they're taking too long to sort of bring these characters together into the, sort of Bonnie and Clyde duo that they are in the comics? Or do you think they're doing right here? All right, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you probably on Monday. Until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.